Today we talk new spirits in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pokémon Unite releasing for the Nintendo Switch, a Super Nintendo World Strategy Guide, my review of Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, all that and more on today's edition of Mii Weekly. Let's do this! Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Mii Weekly, this time for Friday, July 23rd, 2021. I'm Hero TJ, coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan. Thanks for joining me. Let's jump right in. This past week, we got another Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Spirit event, this time featuring Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. I don't know anything about this game. This is a game I've never even heard of before, but you know me, I gots to get my spirits. Unfortunately, this spirit event is already over. Somehow, even though I follow Nintendo and Smash Bros. On just about every possible social media platform, and I'm signed up for notifications on everything, I was never made aware of this one, and I only just happened to randomly catch it. So I did my due diligence and I jumped in and I got the 3 new spirits, being Sakuna, Kokoroa, and Tama. The spirits look pretty great. Sorry if you missed them, but don't fret too much. Just like all other spirit events, they will eventually make their way to the spirit board. I know those empty boxes in the spirit collection can be a little annoying, but hang in there, we'll get them filled up soon enough. A couple weeks back, Capcom announced another Spirit collaboration. If you purchased Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate detected a save file on your profile, you'd be gifted a Raise Wing Ratha Spirit. When I first reported on this, I mentioned how I have no intention of purchasing that game, just not my style. Although it's been pretty successful for Capcom, Monster Hunter Stories 2 has shipped over 1 million units worldwide. There is a free demo and I attempted to see if perhaps that could garner me the spirit, but no dice. My brother, however, did purchase Monster Hunter Stories 2. He's a huge fan of Monster Hunter, and we thought we'd conduct a little bit of an experiment, so he put his profile on my Nintendo Switch. We made my Switch his primary Switch, and I was able to play his version of Monster Hunter on my Switch, thereby creating a save profile. Then when I logged back into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, sure enough, I was gifted the Raise Wing Ratha Spirit. So no unsightly gap in my spirit collection. Honestly, it was way too much work and time and effort for just one silly spirit that eventually will come to the spirit board anyway, but I mostly did it as an academic experiment just to see if it would work, and sure enough it did. So thanks, bro. Releasing this week on Nintendo Switch, the long-awaited Pokemon MOBA game Pokémon Unite. The game is free to download. It does include in-game purchases though. The mobile version of this game is scheduled to launch in September, but if you download it for Nintendo Switch between now and August 31st, you'll receive the Pokemon Zeraora as a free playable character. Zeraora, Zeraora, I don't know how to say half these Pokemon names. MOBA style games have never been my thing, but if you want to give it a try, it's available for free right now on the Nintendo eShop. Speaking of free, Samurai Warriors 5 is now offering a free demo on the Nintendo eShop. This game is developed by Koei Tecmo, the team behind all the Warriors games, and you might remember also collaborated with Nintendo on Hyrule Warriors and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I've been a fan of the Musou games going all the way back to Dynasty Warriors 2 that I first played on the Sega Dreamcast, on the demo machine when I worked at Toys R Us in the early 2000s, and I've played a ton of both Hyrule Warriors games. The trailer made Samurai Warriors 5 look pretty exciting. I'm certainly willing to give it a try for free, if for no other reason just to compare it to the gameplay of Hyrule Warriors. The full game releases on July 27th. Pre-orders are available now. This next headline comes from an article written by my friend Jennifer Birch over at NintendoWire.com. Nintendo fans across the world have been eagerly awaiting to visit Super Nintendo World, the Nintendo-themed land found at Universal Studios Japan. While the launch of the park was delayed multiple times, as well as experienced a few closures due to health concerns, as it presently stands, Super Nintendo World is open, albeit in a limited capacity. Those who've been able to visit the land have also shared videos, pictures, guides, reviews, and more online. Officially, Universal Studios Japan has had a basic site for Super Nintendo World, but now they've launched their own Super Nintendo World Strategy Guide. The guide shows off different locations, such as Peach's Castle, Bowser's Castle, Kinopio Cafe, that's Toad for all of us Westerners. We get a look at some rides, interactive elements, and more. It even shows off the souvenir photo op frame park goers get if they purchase their photo from the Yoshi's Adventure ride. Yeah, I could see myself doing that. The guide also includes short videos about entering Super Nintendo World, a 360-degree view of the land, an inside look at the Toad Cafe, and some of the interactive elements. They're all available to view on the site, as well as Universal Studios Japan's YouTube channel. Currently, Super Nintendo World is only available at Universal Studios Japan. Its US counterparts at Universal Studios Hollywood and Universal Studios Orlando, as well as Universal Studios Singapore, are still currently in development. Hold on to your pants, we've got some earth-shattering news. Nintendo Switch Online has just justified every single subscription with the release of their newest SNES classics on the SNES Online service. These are the games you've been waiting for: Claymates, Jelly Boy, and Bamboozle. As my friend Ricky Berg describes them, a trio of oddities. Okay, who we kidding? I'd never heard of any of these games before, and I have absolutely zero desire to play them. They're a passing novelty at best, especially when we've still got a whole bunch of super cool first-party Nintendo titles that have yet to grace Nintendo Online. What is Nintendo doing with this? Obviously, they're trying to give us more bang for our buck when it comes to Nintendo Switch Online. That's not all I have to say about this. Let's talk about it a little bit more later in the show. Now playing. So as promised, I've been putting in as much time as I can with Skyward Sword HD for the Nintendo Switch. I came to a pretty startling realization while playing this game. I've never actually replayed any 3D Legend of Zelda game. Not Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, or Skyward Sword. I played through every one of them when they first released, and loved each and every single one of them for what they were at the time. And while every single one of these games, as of now, has been remade in one form or another, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on the 3DS, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on the Wii U, I never played them. But for some reason, I really want to replay Skyward Sword HD. And I think because out of all of these 3D games, it's the one that holds the most fractured place in my memory. I have distinct memories of really loving it, but also there are nightmarish moments that still haunt me. So I guess more so than any other reason, I wanted to play Skyward Sword HD just to reconcile my own feelings about the game. Let's start with the story. I don't think it's controversial to say the story of Skyward Sword is one of the strongest in the Zelda series. Priority is given to character development and world building over narrative flexibility. And with that comes what may also be the most imposed and rigid linearity. And I intend for that to be taken without the least bit of criticism on my part. I love the freedom of exploration presented in many of the Zelda games, but that doesn't mean a more guided path is necessarily a diminished experience. The narrative in Skyward Sword manages to establish what, at least for now, serves as a powerful origin story for The Legend of Zelda's rich lore. Nintendo came out swinging, and in my opinion, pulled off an undisputed knockout. Gameplay and controls is the aspect of Skyward Sword that I feel suffers the most. When I'm puzzling my way through a dungeon or in the throes of battle, everything seems to function smoothly enough, whether I'm using motion controls or buttons. What really holds it back, in my view, is how awkwardly either configuration interfaces with the different operations, from flying the Loftwing, to swimming, to throwing or rolling items, steering my beetle, and perhaps worst of all, controlling the camera, if I'm in button mode that is. The control array is not unintelligent, it's just unintuitive. Every time I need to change what I'm doing in the game, it feels like I have to relearn the controls. How often am I wrestling with the controller? Constantly. They are an ever-present barrier to my immersion, which is ironic when you consider the original intent of motion control is to deepen immersion. Forget Garahim, forget the Imprisoned, or any of the dungeon bosses. I would argue the controls are the true worst enemy of Skyward Sword. And unfortunately, I don't know that the HD version improves on that, it just changes it. Instead of devising two viable control options, I feel like they created two half-viable control options. So no matter which medicine you pick, it's gonna go down bittersweet. The Switch version manages to provide a clean picture that maintains the artistic integrity of the original, as well as a locked 60 frames per second, making for liquid smooth gameplay. From the satisfying notes accompanying each successful sword strike to the stellar score, the sound design of Skyward Sword is best in class. The soundtrack to Skyward Sword isn't just great, it may be the one category where I would personally credit Skyward Sword as significantly surpassing its successor, Breath of the Wild. I honestly don't know how to reconcile my feelings on this one. For every standout dungeon, there's another time-wasting fetch quest. It presents a deeply moving story, but to enjoy it, I have to suffer the interminable controls. The swordplay may be some of the most nuanced in the series, but it comes at the expense of controlling just about every other function of the game. So my final takeaway, is it better? In most ways, I would say it definitely is, save for the motion controls, which work significantly better on Wii with the aid of the sensor bar. If you played Skyward Sword on Wii and it didn't win you over, I don't believe Skyward Sword HD is going to do anything to change that. This episode's Spirit of the Week comes from James Carlotto, 9. We're looking at number 683, Camilla, from the Fire Emblem series. Camilla first appears in Fire Emblem Fates, and she makes a return appearance in Fire Emblem Warriors for Nintendo Switch. The render for this spirit comes from Fire Emblem Fates, although slightly censored. The original version looks like this. But as Mr. Sakura reminded us in the Terry Bogard presentation, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is for good boys and girls of many different ages, and that occasionally may result in some minor editing. Camilla is a princess of Nor, and the eldest sister to her adopted sibling, Corrin, who you may know from the Smash cast of playable fighters. Camilla, or the Beautiful Obsidian Princess as she is sometimes known, possesses a great fondness for Corrin. Like all other Norian royalty, dragon blood flows in her veins, granting her the ability of Dragon Vein Eruption, which in Fire Emblem Fates allows her to instantly destroy all enemies, excluding the opponent's lord, in a single row of the battlefield, for a cost of flipping 1 orb and 3 bond cards. Look at me talking like I know Fire Emblem. She also likes cute things. Equipping the Camilla spirit will buff your fighter up a bit, but offers no special bonus. Thanks to James for the suggestion. If there's a spirit you'd like to see as the Spirit of the Week, please let me know in the comment section below, and if yours is selected, you'll be recognized in the episode with an on-screen credit, just like James. And now it's time to sound off. In light of Nintendo's recent release of these cool new Super NES games on Nintendo Switch Online, I'd like to get your score. How would you rate Nintendo Switch Online? I realize that the NES and SNES games aren't the entirety of the service. It also allows you to play online for games like Super Smash Bros. And Animal Crossing and Splatoon, but as far as making classic titles available, in my opinion, it's frankly quite lackluster compared to the Wii U, with its vast virtual console library. I know Nintendo doesn't owe me anything, but if I wanna, say play Metroid Fusion, I don't know that it would be such a bad business decision on their part to make it available to me to give them some money. With the increased pressure from other companies like Microsoft with their Game Pass, and now the Steam Deck coming out, which will essentially allow people to emulate just about any classic game that they want, including Nintendo's games, is that going to motivate Nintendo to free more of their classic games from the vault? If I had to give Nintendo Switch Online a grade, referring specifically to the NES and SNES libraries, I'd give them an F. I don't know how much worse they could be doing, to be quite honest. I could understand drip feeding the games 3 at a time every couple months if they were doing something to change them in some meaningful or significant way, but they're just basic emulations for the most part. If they're actually trying to leverage these classic games to entice people to buy in, why wouldn't they just dump every single game that they have on there? I could understand leaving out the games that have complex licensing arrangements, but Nintendo has enough of their own catalog where that alone could certainly compel not only more subscriptions, but I'll bet they could sell their subscriptions for a higher price. That's my thought on the matter. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And that's a wrap on another edition of Mii Weekly. My favorite part of Friday is this time I get to share with you. So tell your friends, spread the word, help us to grow this little community we got going on here. I hope you have an amazing week filled with all kinds of games and fun, and who knows what cool news Nintendo's gonna drop our way. Let's meet right back here again next Friday and we'll chat all about it. Until then, this is Hero TJ signing off. Thanks for playing.
Wow.